Hi, I'm Jack Baruzzini, and you're listening to The Secret to Stargate, where we talk about the hidden meanings and deeper layers found in the Stargate movies, TV series, and more. And joining me today are Father Cory Sticha. Hi, Father.
Howdy, Jack.
And Victor Lambs. Hey, Victor.
Hi, Jack.
Today we are discussing the 9th episode of Season 6, Cure. On the planet Pangar, the SG1 team arrives through the Stargate and engages in diplomatic negotiations with the Pangarians, who refer to the humans as the Earthens?
Earthens, yeah.
Earthens, yeah.
Earthens. The humans.
Humans, yes. Who possess an advanced drug called Tritonin, granting perfect health. However, tensions arise when the Pangarians show interest in visiting worlds controlled by the Goa'uld. Jonas and Teal'c discover that the Tritonin is derived from Goa'uld symbiotes and that the Pangarians have captured a Goa'uld named Ingaria, who turns out to be the Tok'ra queen. Years ago, the Pangarians developed the drug. The team seek an antidote for the Tritonin's side effects with the help of the Tok'ra, but faces difficulties due to the unique symbiotes. Eventually, the Tok'ra sacrifice one of their own to free Ingaria, who reveals that a flaw in her children's genetic coding has caused the Tritonins to break down, ensuring that they stop producing the drug. Ingaria's final act provides the potential for an antidote, and the episode ends with hope for future negotiations, and also a little bit of an unrequited attraction between Jonas and Vanna.
Yep.
Never really went anywhere. What are your thoughts on this episode, Father?
This one's all right. Of course, we kind of see now SG1 is the smarter, more advanced group.
Yep.
And the people they're visiting are the less advanced that want their technology and, more importantly, want their gate addresses. It's not a bad episode at all. It's just not a great one. It is one that does set up further plot points that become very important towards the rest of the series. But as far as this particular episode, it doesn't seem like it at the time. We do learn a little bit more about the Tok'ra. We do learn, and like I said, other issues with the Tritonin and stuff like that. So it's not a bad episode. It's all right.
Yeah. What about you, Victor?
Yeah, I think you said it. It never really went anywhere. I mean, it's a perfectly fine episode, but it's very slowly paced. Mm-hmm. And the music is very plodding and this is a good one to put on if you just want to fall asleep, because there's not going to be any action that'll wake you up. There's some good, it's a very Next Generation season 2 episode, I would say. There's there's kind of like a moral quandary, but not really. I mean, they don't really flesh out the main moral dilemma here, which is, that we can get into a little bit, but one thing I do like is just how reasonable the Pangarans are. They're the most reasonable alien race that that the SG1 is fine. They're we found this thing and it allowed us to make a wonder drug, and now we want to make more of it, because if we don't, our people will die. Can you help us out? And they're like, no, we're going to sneak around behind your back and see how you're making this. And they're like, yeah, well, we would have told you, but now that you've seen how it's made, you could, we can understand. They're very, and which I like that they're not evil or or anything like that. They're just very reasonable, which kind of makes the whole ethical quandary work, I think, a little bit better than it might otherwise have done.
Yeah, I was going to say that's what I liked most about this episode is the fact that there's no real villains. And they set it up, they kind of do a bait and switch where they set it up that there's this dark secret that the scientist wants to reveal to them. And it's really just bad luck and ignorance on the part of the Pangarans about the nature of the Goa'uld and the Tok'ra. Mm-hmm. And so, because what it is that the Pangarans have found underneath where the Stargate is, that ancient temple, they found a canopic jar with a Goa'uld queen in stasis. And I think this is the first time we've seen a Goa'uld queen.
Not the first time.
Hathor.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Hathor was a Goa'uld queen.
She was in human form.
Right. We haven't seen the big snake in the tank.
Yeah, no, we have. This is really, I think, the only time we see it. We did see Osiris in stasis in a canopic jar, so that was good. And so we meet Egeria here.
Right.
But they don't know that it's Egeria, obviously, because they don't know how to read Goa'uld.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so it turns out that the Goa'uld is Egeria, who was the first Tok'ra. and they've been basically pumping her for symbiotes so they can create Tritonin, which is a drug that is essentially all the immune system effects of having a Gould symbiote, but in intravenous form, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah. So put a pin in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without the pesky take over your whole life and turn you into an evil warlord, and or make you carry around a slug in your pouch belly for the rest of your life. And yes, as Victor says, put a pin in that fact that it replaces that aspect.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's but yeah, I liked that there were no real villains. All the characters were really trying to do the best they could with what they had, and really the biggest conflict comes from the fact that SG1 just implicitly does not trust the Pangarans, which, given their previous encounters with other species, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and so Peter Stebbings as Malik is back, and he finds they bring him in because the deal is that they can't keep up with the demand on on creating the symbiotes, which I don't know if they milk them or juice them somehow to get the Tritonin. They don't really go into that aspect of it, but and so the Gould Queen they have is dying and won't be able to do this definitely, but unfortunately for people who are on Tritonin, which is a great honor in this society, only certain people get to be on it. It's a death sentence because if there isn't any more, your immune system won't recover. It's
the same problems the Jaffa have with when they lose their symbiote. If they don't get it replaced, they'll die. Well, the same thing is going with the Tritonin. So, and that's where the Tok'ra are able to come in and eventually, with the help of the Queen, Egeria, figure out how to solve this problem, how to get it so that they can be weaned off from it.
Yeah. Well, we get this great scene though, where the Tok'ra see this Gould Queen, and it's like, help me, they're just stealing my young and for medical research. And the Tok'ra's like, yeah, we're totally cool with this. Like, yeah, we we don't like the Gould Queen using the Gould in this way. Yeah, we're good with this. Yeah, they did the right thing. Good on you, Pengars. And then when they find out that it's
like, oh, wait a second.
Queen.
Yeah. And that was interesting to see because it continues the portrayal of the Gould as very Machiavellian and not. They don't really have a moral, a rightly oriented moral center, I guess. But on the flip side, we do get Egeria, who seems to be much more compassionate towards other life forms than the rest of the Tok'ra have been, because she ends up sacrificing herself and giving up the information for them to make the antidote.
Yeah, it was she enters into one of the Tok'ra. The Tok'ra symbiote sacrifices itself so that Egeria can go into this host. And when she wakes up, she's like, oh, I understand. It was just all a mistake. It's no big deal. I tried to, I made the change to the symbiote so that they wouldn't get through with it, but they were still able to create it. But that's fine. I'll help you solve it anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have some questions about that too, because when we see the Gould Queen in the tank, it's like the size of like a hippopotamus or something. And maybe I didn't pause it, to see after. So, the regular Gould symbiote in your head is like much smaller than it's like smaller than a house cat. And so I'm like, is like the Gould Queen kind of like, I don't know, like Optimus Prime? There's like a little part that can detach, or something, and go into your head or something.
Yeah, they do show like the birth sac, the big red thing that's underneath at the bottom. Okay. Just sitting in the bottom of the tank. So that's where.
Oh, it's not part of the main queen.
It's not part of the main queen.
Okay.
So she spawns that, and then
that'd be a lot to fit into somebody's head.
It might be a little tight squeeze.
Yeah.
She'd probably have to fit into like a politician's head or something.
Yeah.
She's going to get it on.
No, there's plenty of room in that one.
Yeah. I guess it's like in Aliens when Ripley's fighting the big queen. She like rips herself out of the birth sac, and it's very gross.
Yeah. Same this isn't as gross.
No. The effects were pretty good though.
They were. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and so to walk it back a bit, one of the first characters we meet when we get there is Xana Valk, who is a scientist who's been working on the project studying the ancient ruins. And she and Jonas seem to hit it off pretty well.
Kind of. There's not a lot of chemistry there. It's kind of funny. It almost seems like she starts hitting on Tilk first, and then Jonas just kind of slides in instead.
Yeah.
But it's still kind of a... Well, they even have one line where it's... So Jonas went and looked through her books and everything. Well, you can pay me back. And it's like, oh, is she going to hit on him? It's like, no, help. And then it's like, no, just help me translate the stuff in the temple.
Yeah.
And I don't really know what the point of her character was, other than to convey a little bit of information and give kind of a bait and switch at the beginning where she says that she has a secret she has to tell them, but then she won't tell them because apparently off screen someone got to her and said, no, don't talk to them about it. But I don't think that it doesn't seem like that actually happened given the way the rest of the Pangarans are. Like, they don't seem like they'd be like pressuring someone behind the scenes like that. And so it just seemed kind of odd, and I don't really know what the point of her character was.
Yeah, it's a little sloppy. They want to do the whole like, the firm type thing or whatever the big, like John Grisham movies were at the time. It's like, I have some information to tell you, and then it's like, what information? I don't have any information to tell you. It's like, oh, someone got to them, and that sort of thing. And then but she does realize that she's basically like going to die because the open secret is that they're running out of Trutonin, and anybody on it is going to die. Which explains the Pangaran's desperation for any sort of gate address that would link to a Goa'uld homeworld so that they could go and somehow capture a Goa'uld queen. And so she just wants to finish her father's life's work, which is translating these glyphs, which conveniently convey that Egeria is the Goa'uld queen because she was imprisoned by Ra for being Tok'ra, which is against Ra. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
nice.
I kind of get the feeling like her character would have been much less interesting because she wasn't very interesting to begin with, but much less interesting if Daniel Jackson would have still been in this, because Daniel would have handled about 90% of what she did anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just seemed like if you're going to make it kind of have a little bit of attraction between her and Jonas, but it doesn't really go anywhere, so why have it in there in the first place? Just, I don't know, it just seemed out of place.
Yeah, this really is a strange episode because there's no major blow up points, no major, obviously, not a single shot was fired, no explosions. Everybody's just kind of at best they get a little upset. The people of the planet get upset because Jonas and Tilk found the production facility, which then they take everybody to the production facility. And, we were going to show you this anyways, so it really doesn't matter that you found it early.
Yeah.
Okay. And there was one, like they go in there, there's a little bit of a fist fight with the guards, but then right after that, they're like, all right, we're just going to show you what we got.
And the most implausible part of that is, so, Jonas and a guard fall into the Goa'uld tank, where the kind of like, mentally suppressed Goa'uld are there. And we later learned that Egeria has like been kind of making the Goa'uld stupid, so they won't.
Yep.
But yeah, and and Jonas is like, I got to get away from these Goa'uld. And then the guard that falls in gets in Goa'uld, and he gets the symbiote in the back of his head, but instead of turning evil, he just kind of turns like comatose. And they're like, oh, well, this is, we have no idea what's going on. I'm like, you've been doing research on these symbiotes for 50 years, and like nobody not once has like gotten close enough to one of them to have it swim into their head. Like, this has to have been like, oh yeah, the first 10 people we had working on this project all like wound up in a coma because this happened. And then we learned to keep, people away from the they don't say that. It's like, oh, this is weird. What's going on? It's just very implausible that nobody would have gotten that close enough to one of the symbiotes before. In the past 50 years, they've been experimenting on them.
Yeah. No, that was definitely an overlooked thing. I do like, though, that when they're in the facility, Jonas comments that this doesn't look like we're at the rec center. And right before he said that, I was thinking, this looks like the big pool, like the community center. So I don't know if that was an intentional lampshade.
It was filmed. Yeah, maybe it was filmed at a rec center or something.
That's what it looked like. But yeah, no, it's the plotting is a little bit flimsy, but I liked that it did something unique because the episode starts off, it feels like the one where they go to the planet where where the aliens get the grain through the Stargate. Mm-hmm. It felt like it was going to be that kind of plot, and I'm glad that they did not do that.
Yeah. Another inconsistency is that Egeria, dies, and she has, they take her back to the Stargate. They don't vaporize her in the Kawoosh, as we saw last episode with the dead Tok'ra there.
Well, you think they'd want to have that honor with the rest of the Tok'ra.
Okay. It is also odd that we don't get any sort of any input from her host. Like, was she okay with this plan? Is she okay with dying? Because the way they were carrying her, I guess the host is dead too. So
that's a really good point. It's like, yeah, you got this perfectly healthy, symbiote that's going to sacrifice itself, and yeah, really do get a say in it.
Yeah, I think it was kind of implied the way that the host kind of informed Egeria of everything. That yes, this was willing. This wasn't like with Jack where the Tok'ra took over and made him do things like try to sneak out a servant girl.
Yeah,
and I don't know. Egeria just seemed kind of smug at the end too. It's like, oh, even though they imprisoned me, I will deign to save them, and that will show them that I'm better than them. That sort of thing. It's like just shut up and help them.
She's been trapped for 50-something years, being forced to give birth to endless Goa'uld who are turned into medicine. So I can get being a little bit salty.
I guess so. Yeah.
Well, especially since I was right after being trapped in that jar for many hundreds, if not thousands of years.
That's true.
Right. Maybe at that point she's like, I'm glad I'm dying.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you'd be kind of salty if you were stuck in a jar for a couple hundred years.
Yeah, no, that would not be fun. My biggest problem though is how flippant the Tok'ra are about them using a Goa'uld in this way. Like if it's a Goa'uld, it's okay, but if it's a Tok'ra, it's not okay. And Tok'ra are Goa'uld. Like they call themselves the Tok'ra to kind of distance themselves from that fact, but they're the same thing.
They're definitely offshoots from the Goa'uld.
Yeah.
And really about the only difference is that their knowledge comes from Egeria originally, and the Goa'uld get it from wherever, they're queens, they get them from. So
yeah.
But they're Tok'ra are the better people. They're the better snakes.
Yeah. Yes, we're grading on a curve here, so
yeah.
Another issue with this is a lot of a lot of the quotes and quips are just kind of like reaction quips. There's not a lot of really memorable lines in this one.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of like, "Whoa, this is weird," and Jack goes like, "No kidding," or like, "Yeah, it's like you don't say," or something. It's the writing isn't really.
I did like the opening though, where they're standing there waiting at the gate, and yes, the leader of this team must be an excellent and savvy negotiator. And Jack walks out, "Hiya, folks."
Yeah. I was hoping that he would pop off some other kind of like they would actually play more with that, but they don't really.
Yeah, it's like, really, oh boy, these shorts are chafing or something.
Yeah,
like something really.
Jack didn't have really any part to play in this.
No, he was just kind of there.
He's just kind of like, I don't trust you. What are you hiding?
Yeah. Sam at least could go and, study the Tritonin and figure out what it was and how it works with Dr. Frazier, who gets another one of the, 5-second appearances.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Hammond is just kind of standing over her shoulder. So there's his check for the episode.
Exactly. Yeah. It was Tilk and Jonah's show, basically.
Yeah. Which is nice after having Jonas be he was absent from the last episode, and then he was pretty much absent for the one before that.
Yeah.
So, giving him more to do. It would be interesting to see. I feel like the dynamic with Daniel Jackson would have been, if this was Daniel's place, he would have immediately started advocating to let the Goa'uld out of the tank and stop everything. I feel like he would get on his moral high horse and not really try to solve the problem in a logical way.
Yeah,
they tried to make that argument of how the Tok'ra made that argument about how this is a rational being that's being treated this way, and we shouldn't And that would have been Daniel all the way. I know the Goa'uld are evil, and but they're still rational beings, and they should be treated as it's like, well, okay, so it's not a cow, is what you're saying. It's still an evil being.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm glad we didn't get any sort of moralizing from the actual SG team, but overall, this episode felt like SG1 didn't really have a lot to do. Like, they kind of just react and observe to things that happen, and I think that's just the nature of this plot because there are no villains.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And there's no subtext or anything going on either. Everybody is pretty much just saying everything's out in the open, they're saying what they feel, Things change as people get new information, but nobody's like you said, nobody's trying to deceive anyone else. It just kind of like everybody it just is really kind of just paint by numbers or reading an instruction manual at some point.
Well, even Commander Tok'ra, who is their military representative or leader or whatever, like he starts out seeming like he's be kind of a hard ass and kind of a jerk, and it's like, oh no, he's actually not that bad of a guy either.
Yeah,
he's just more military mindset. That's it.
And looking at the writer, Damian Kindler, he's written a lot of.
He does.
Wrote a lot of episodes, so maybe this was just a boilerplate script, and they needed to get something out the door.
And not just with Stargate, he's been in a bunch of different projects. Where he's written quite good shows.
I think this is one of the first things he wrote, though. And I think it's maybe only a second Stargate script or something.
It's
the second one he did on his own. He co-wrote one with Robert C. Cooper in season 2.
Mm-hmm. The first one he wrote on, that he gets sole credit for, is The Other Guys, which is a really good episode.
Yep.
So I don't know. Everyone has off days, and I think it was a really good concept that there was a bit lacking in the execution, and a lot of that is just because you have 45 minutes to tell the story.
Oh, yeah, and before this, he wrote for Kung Fu Legend Continues, Earth Final Conflict, Beastmaster, Psi Factor. So those, syndicated Canadian shows that would show up in the late 90s. Yeah. They're all on the Roku channel, by the way. Probably Tubi as well. So
yeah. And this is for Lisa, who's not with us this episode. The actress who plays Zana Valk, I was looking at her IMDb, and she's in tons of the Hallmark movies. So,
oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm sure Lisa would have recognized her from that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And of course, Malcolm Stewart, who played Dolan, the leader of the Pengarans, has been in everything.
He's one of those guys you see him immediately and go, yeah, I've seen him somewhere. I don't know where, but I've seen him before.
The Pengarians Pengar is a very Canadian planet. It's like every Canadian actor.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're all very polite, and it's all very clean.
It's all right. You were rummaging through my stuff. Now help me translate.
Yeah. We're very sorry we were experimenting on the Goa'uld. We don't know what that's about.
Yeah.
I'll just give the symbiote some Tim Hortons, and it'll feel all better.
Some Goa'uld bits.
Tim Hortons and some
poutine.
Oh darn! The cheese or the gravy fries.
Yeah, poutine.
Oh, that sounds
there
good.
you go.
Yeah.
Now I'm hungry.
Cheese curds on. Yeah.
Cheese curds, gravy, and fries. I hate that when I forget the word, but yeah. Everybody will be happy after that.
Yeah.
I've never had poutine. I need to try it.
I think you probably have. You just haven't realized it. If you've ever just microwaved a bunch of stuff together, that's what it is.
So
now of course now they've
mashed
got
potatoes, gravy, and
they've got poutineries in Canada now where they've got specialty poutine. So
it's been gentrified like other cheap snacks,
like those the Frites restaurants where they're we serve French fries 11 different ways.
Yeah,
which I can get behind, of course. So
hey. There's no bad way to make a potato. It probably is
true,
but we'll not think about that.
Yeah.
Did we have any alternate language titles for this?
Yeah, the only one that was really it was mostly translated into Cure, but in French we get La Reine, which is the Queen. So that kind of, I don't know, that doesn't really give it away, but That's the only one that was different. The Queen versus the Cure.
So we get two classic 80s bands there.
Yeah,
for the
Queen
titles.
and the Cure. Yeah.
There we go. Awesome. Before we go, wait, no. Running on autopilot there.
Uh-oh.
So I put out a question on our Discord, which you can access at sqpn.com/Discord on our Stargate channel for our listeners. So here are some of the responses to the question that I asked, which was, what would you like to see in the Stargate revival that Amazon is producing? What characters or plots would you like to see brought back? And Paul Leone says that he'd like to see Carter and O'Neill's kids all grown up. He says that he doubts that they would do that, but it would be cool to see a post-disclosure world and maybe see it take place in a different galaxy with different situations and different threats. I think that would be cool. It would be interesting to see them do like a post-disclosure kind of thing, especially like with all the news about UAPs today going around today. So maybe by the time it comes out, well, actually, hey, now don't stomp on my belief.
I won't yuck your yum.
I want to believe, yes. But yeah, that would be cool and kind of see. I guess it would be like how in the episode 2010, you get all the technology is made its way into society.
There's just no way humans could have invented cell phones without alien technology.
Sure.
Technology.
I think you and I need to have a debate about
we do.
aliens and UAP off mic. Matthew says that he'd like to see Jonas come back after listening to us, and I definitely agree with that. So, Amazon, if you're listening, Jeff Bezos, if you're listening, I know Jeff Bezos is listening. Bring back Jonas.
Yeah. we all have our little Jeff Bezos listening devices behind us. So,
not me.
Not you.
Mine's Google.
Yeah.
Okay. Sergey Brin.
Yeah. That guy. Joden, aka Jeff, says that he hopes that they take a hint from Star Trek Strange New Worlds and have it be episodic, but also have a through line. And I definitely agree with that.
Yep.
Watching Strange New Worlds has been very refreshing because I don't feel like I'm watching a 10-hour long movie broken up week by week.
Well, and Strange New Worlds is very much like at least Stargate, SG1, and Atlantis where they do have an overarching plot for the season, but they only get little bits of it, and not every episode fills into that. And that I've really enjoyed,
Yeah, and it gives the characters room to breathe, and you get a lot more character development in that. So hopefully that is the direction they'll take with it. I'm going to pronounce this Oneek, that's 3 E's there, says that they would like to also see a post-disclosure world. They'd like to see some Tolans pay respect to the human race, at least for defeating the Goa'uld. I don't know if there's any Tolans even left. They want to hear information about the Furlings, which would be
right up there.
That's a carrot. That's like the carrot you hang out.
Oh,
you never actually show them.
If they bring it back, they'll mention them several times. And, oh yeah, we met a Furling 2 years ago and haven't seen one since. Oh well, you missed it.
Or the Furlings will be like the main bad guys, but instead of being furry, they'll be like these hideous, like slimy, lizard creatures who just like devour people whole or something, and they'll be like, "That's the Furlings. Those are the Furlings." Yeah.
They also say, but most importantly, the characters should be likable as they were in SG1, even with characters like Mayborn and McKay. And I totally agree. I don't want a bunch of sad, tortured, angry, backstabbing, depressed people. That's
next week on Stargate Discovery.
Yeah. I don't want Battlestar Galactica in a Stargate world, which.
Well, then we could have Star Trek Discovery in the Stargate universe where they sit around and talk about their feelings as they travel through the wormhole.
Yes.
Oh,
Stargate therapy.
Yeah.
And Hurricane Ann says, which is an awesome name, by the way.
Yes.
They want the SG1 version of Short Checks with Walter Seiler, the cafeteria workers, and a Lower Decks vision of Cheyenne. That would be cool to see.
Yep.
I feel like that's something they either like an animated series that is not the other one, which we won't talk about. That'd be fun. And Stargate already has that comedic twist to it, so I feel like it would work really well with that.
Yeah, my biggest fear would be that they'd try to write like a funny episode or something. I don't know.
Instead of letting it just be organically funny.
Yeah, I don't know that things can be organically funny anymore. I mean, I think we've lost that like sense of humor and sense of perspective and stuff. I don't know. I could be wrong.
I think you still got to get the correct writers for it.
Yeah,
because they're still out there. It's just you got to find them.
You've got to find writers who are good at writing comedy and are also actual fans of the show. Because like with Lower Decks, I was very, very skeptical that Lower Decks was going to be any good, but I've actually really enjoyed it because you can tell that the writers are actual Star Trek fans, and a lot of the humor comes from like riffing on Star Trek rather than just being generic adult like animated comedy humor. And that's worked really well. And I think they could pull it off. Awesome. Yeah, we really appreciate those responses. I'll be putting out a question every Monday. I don't know if we'll do this segment every single week, but we'll definitely collate the answers together and read them out. Again, you can look at that at Discord or sqpn.com/Discord, and we have the Secrets of Stargate channel there. Awesome. Before we go, we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Stargate, including Caitlin F., Matthew D., Peter E., Daniel M., and James O. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Stargate and all the shows at StarQuest, and you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. And be sure to follow the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or on the SQPN YouTube channel. And to find previous episodes of Secrets of Stargate and to send feedback, please visit sqpn.com/Stargate. You can email us at stargate@sqpn.com or follow StarQuest on social media at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia or on Twitter at SQPN. And I forgot to mention, you can also watch us on the SQPN YouTube channel where you can see Victor's amazing hats this week. So definitely check that out. And we'll be back next time when we'll be discussing the next episode of SG1, Prometheus. Until then, Father Cory, thank you for joining me and sharing the Secrets of Stargate.
Well, thank you, Jack.
And Victor Lambs, thank you too.
Thanks, Jack, and no doubt the leader of this group will be a brilliant and savvy negotiator.
I don't fit that description.
No.
And once again, I'm Jack Baruzzini. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Stargate on StarQuest.
Anyway, I'm sorry, but that just happens to be how I feel about it. What do you think?